Hey everyone, Ryan Young, Kama Jiu-Jitsu. Hope you're doing well. Uh, I'm sorry, but just kind of fiddling with this thing because it's telling me, YouTube is telling me that I need to do it in portrait mode. But it's funny. I almost never do anything in portrait mode. I don't even take a picture in portrait mode. I still remember a while ago, I remember watching some video of a guy teasing people who did it, and talked about, I guess, shooting one of these things, saying how knuckleheads shoot like this, whereas correct people shoot like this. But when doing videos, knuckleheads video like this, whereas people who know what they're doing video like this, right? Anyway, dumb, dumb thing. But I wanted to start off. Oh, by the way, Ryan Young, Kama Jiu Jitsu. Hope you're doing well. Can't remember if I did that or not. Every once in a while, I will get a request to talk about a particular product, and most of the time, I just refuse them. However, these are pretty damn good. This is by Bob and Brad's, and they're both physical therapists out of Minnesota. And basically, this is the cheapest or one of the most inexpensive massage guns that you can get. I think it's less than $100, and I'll have a discount code when the video comes back up. I don't have it on right now, but uh, if you go to the link, it's too much to describe. But I'll put it back. I'll put it in the text below. It's called Bob and Brad's, and if you go onto their website, you can use a discount code BBAR2YT. So Bob and Brad's Air 2 is what they call this product. YT for YouTube. BB Air 2 YT. So that'd be a 10% off code. If you use a link that I put in the description, you'll help the channel. But if not, you can just go straight and hopefully use that link and get your discount, even if you don't do it through us. But anyway, these are really handy. This is the second of the type, not this particular brand. And my son, who many of you know is in the Marine Corps, he just left off to his basic school for officers. He's an officer. Because he just went to college. That's all. And the Marine Corps paid for his college education, so he had to go in. But he took this. He took the one that I have with him. So I just so happened Bob and Brad said message me about giving you one. What I like to use this for. This is very simple, by the way. So this is just one of the attachments, but here's another attachment that looks like this. There's the ball that you can use. This is also a common attachment. And then you have the flat attachment, which um, just kind of depends. It's flat, okay? And this one, I like to use this one in my shoulder because I've had shoulder surgery on both this side and this side. So what I'll do is I'll use these two and put it right into the between the front shoulder muscle and the pecs right here. And I'll just kind of, you can push the button here and you'll see a light, right? Okay. So that turns it on. And you can see there's one light here, double speed, triple speed. But I just go down to one, and you can just see. Oh, um, this is very handy. Yeah. Now, another good place to use this would be, say, in your psoas, which is right in your abdomens, right inside of your hip. Abdomen, right inside of your hips. That's on both sides, and there's actually a particular thing you can use. It looks like a U. It's shaped like this, and you just lay on it, and those two things go into your hip. Well, you can use this as well. Another place that I use this, which is really good, is the IT band, which the IT band is this right inside of here. A lot of times, if you have pain in your leg, maybe even in your knee, a lot of times it's IT band. So if you go in and you can use a roller if you want, sometimes I'll use a foam roller, or you can just use one of these. And if it hurts like heck, then yeah, your IT band needs work. If it doesn't hurt, then you're good. Your IT band is actually fine. At least that's what I've found with me. So this particular product, it's a very good grip. Some of them are shaped like I don't have mine, the image of mine, but it's really just a stick and you hold it and this actually goes this way with you can hold it this way. But this is actually a very handy design here, and it works well in the palm of your hand. But anyway, just kind of wanted to give a little shout out and thank Bob and Brad's for sending this to me, and it really helps. And those of you who train like me, you'll we have many members in my studio have these. Not this particular one. This, from what I understand, is pretty new. But yeah, it's called the Air 2 Mini Massage Gun, and the box looks like this, right? And just use the discount code BBAIR2YT, BBAIR2YT, and you can go and get yours. And if you come back to this video, or if you're seeing this video and it's not live, then just go ahead down to the stream, down to the notes, show notes, and you'll see the link in there. Anyway, so what I wanted to cover today, it really had to do with a conversation that I had with a student of mine, a longtime student. He and his wife have been members since 2016, January. So we're going on a lot of years here. We're looking at probably 8 years. And they haven't trained as much as they want to, partly because husband is professional and he has multiple offices that he needs to go between, in his business that he owns. And his wife suffered an injury from doing some recreational activities. Basically, she fell off a motorcycle and broke her ankle. And they've been having trouble. Each individual have been having their individual issues coming back. Anyway, got to have lunch with the husband, and he is around my age, maybe a year older than me. I'm 55, so I'd probably make him 55, 56, maybe 57. And he is an Army Ranger. So he was an Army Ranger when he was younger. So he's used to being very competitive and being very physically active. But as you get older, and this is something that I've had to kind of deal with as well, as I've gotten older, I've had to come to realize that I don't recover quite as quickly as I used to. Many of you are young still and you're training jujitsu and you're just getting started. You like to go hard and you like to go strong. That's not my recommendation when you're learning. And those of you who have been following our channel for a while or who have gone through and binge watched a lot of our videos, you found that we had the video called, the secret formula of jiu-jitsu. What's the best way to learn jiu-jitsu? Something like that is the title. But basically, just type in Kama Jiu-Jitsu secret formula and you'll see this video. It's a video I did about 6 years ago, but it still holds true today. And basically what it says is that we have our technicality, our physicality, and our overall game. And our overall game, meaning how well we do in jiu-jitsu, is the sum of our technicality and our physicality. When we come into jiu-jitsu at the beginning, we're all physicality because we know no jiu-jitsu. Now, I've not been blessed to be very big or strong. And I never have been. Sometimes in my head, I'm bigger and stronger than I am. And there's that little cartoon I'm thinking of offhand that I used to watch. A tiny little dog would just kind of yap and yap and yap and go after big dogs, thinking he was, a big dog. And I can be, accused of that back in my days, right? But the hardest thing for a big, strong guy, especially if you're very fit and in shape, and you always have been, you're just like an athlete. The hardest thing to do when learning jujitsu is to tone the strength down to be able to train successfully and learn successfully, right? Because how many of you, and if you want to respond, you're welcome to. Oh, let me kind of get back to it. So one of my very old followers, JCB Paris, hi Professor, how do I have some advice on how to avoid shoulder injuries? That's a good one. I don't have any real advice on how to avoid them, other than, let's say your arm can actually hit the mat, on next to you when somebody's on top of you, and they paste your hand on the ground. One of the things that I never let anybody do at this point is because I don't have any flexibility going back. My hand doesn't go well back, anymore because of the fact that I've injured it multiple times and I've had surgery and surgery. So those of you who are kind of looking at this, I think it's backward. Yeah. So this is my right shoulder. So when somebody tries to paste my hand on the ground, what you need to do is you need to turn on your side, right? So if this is the floor, right, I turn and roll toward this shoulder to protect it, and then I bring my elbow to my body. That way, I never get put into an Americana. Another thing is with the Kimura, same thing. I have very little flexibility here. I can barely reach behind my back. I've seen a lot of people, they can take their hand and put it up to their mid back or even upper back. Whereas with me, it goes a little bit above my hip. And, that's cold. It's not warm. But even if I warm the shoulder up and I stretch it a lot, I'm not going to go much further than that. It's become my realization, which I don't want to happen to you guys. So try not to get your shoulders injured. And if you do, roll on the side of the shoulder that's getting pinned and bring your elbow to you. And that will at least allow you to keep training and rolling without further injuring your shoulder. If you don't have injured shoulders, then thank God for that. And just make sure that when your hand does get posted and they pin your wrist down and they reach under to lock up, just tap. Don't try to get out. Just figure that you got to that point and that's your fault. And you could have prevented it a number of times along the way. So that's one way to prevent that. Greetings from Melbourne. Ryan, nice to see you. Oh, okay. So going strong as ever and aging gracefully. Thank you. That is so true. Mark Allen says that is so true about toning down the strength aspect. So now going back to the training side about, relaxing your training, don't use your strength. But because in the beginning, at least, you learning technique while using your strength will detract from your technique because in the beginning, you don't know. So your strength will substitute for technique. And when you're learning jujitsu, you do not want to substitute anything for you learning and getting a command of the technique. However, once you have the technique down, you putting strength into it will act as a multiplier, not as a substitute. So there is a time that you're going to use your strength. I'm not saying to not ever use your strength. Excuse me. What I'm saying is when it's time to learn, practice, and drill, do not use your strength. Instead, learn how to use your weight instead, right? When I'm training with my students and they're beginners, white belt, blue belt, then what I want to feel is I want to feel the correct placement of weight on me, using their weight to put pressure on me, playing a heavy game, a game that would, suffocate the ordinary person. All the while being able to just relax their arms and, put their hands, but not, right? That's what I mean when I say use your weight, but not your strength. So if you're 300 pounds and you're training with me and I taught you how we put weight down, then I fully expect for you to put your weight down on me. However, it's obvious you're stronger than me. Why turn it into that kind of match, right? Um, you know, strength does matter. It does. But like I said a second ago, it doesn't help you as far as learning. And if you want to learn jujitsu, then you're going to have to turn that strength off while you're learning. Otherwise, you'll just be another strong guy and you're not going to get much better. I've seen a lot of big, strong guys who go up in the ranks of the belts and maybe they're purple belt, brown belt, whatever. But watching them and seeing how they execute, they're no better than a blue belt, right? And when you think about wrestlers, right? Wrestlers are great. Their takedowns are awesome. And wrestling is something that we all should learn some of, right? Because if you think of wrestling, catch wrestling, wrestling, you got a bunch of types. You got freestyle, folk style, Greco-Roman, catch, right? All these wrestling styles, along with jujitsu, along with parts of judo and other kind of grappling arts that there might be, sambo, which is Russian judo, there is an overlap, right? All the arts will have certain concepts in common. But what each art has specifically is a little different. So if you think of judo, judo has a lot of throws and a lot of pins and only some submissions. Sambo, which is like judo, I mean, they got great throws. They've got great grappling, but they also have punch aspects in there. You know, they have combat sambo. There's also combat judo too, which is also good. And they also have the leg locks, which judo has in their repertoire. They just don't seem to do it all that often. Brazilian jiu-jitsu, if you're thinking of the modern day BJJ, they do almost no takedowns, almost zero. They only concentrate on what's on the ground. That's why you got a lot of guys, especially if they go into MMA and they've been doing BJJ as opposed to GJJ, right? Gracie Jiu Jitsu versus Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And, you know, they're all Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, but Gracie Jiu Jitsu is not the same necessarily as Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. But you got guys that started off in a sport BJJ school, so they learned how to grapple. They have to then do wrestling to work on their takedowns. They have to do Muay Thai or boxing or kickboxing to work on their stand up. And if you want to be an MMA fighter, then great. Then that's really what you would do. What I might do though, if I were to mentor somebody, somebody says, "Hey, you know, I want to do mixed martial arts or Vale Tudo," which is, you know, the old Gracie style where it was largely bare knuckle and very few rules. Um, you know, then I would say do traditional Gracie Jiu Jitsu first. That way, at least you get some kind of semblance of what a fight would be. And then if you want to add more skills, then master jujitsu and then go in and do the other arts. Conversely, if you are a Muay Thai guy and you're kind of into it for a while and you're thinking of doing some grappling, then what I would suggest is get as much Muay Thai experience as you can and then learn some wrestling or some jujitsu or some other arts that would complement the Muay Thai because you're a master in Muay Thai. Your goal is to fight where you are good. Very few people are equally good at everything. They may be equally bad at everything. They may be equally mediocre at everything. But really, it pays to be a specialist in something and then learn how to deal with the other arts. So if I think of what's his name, Khabib, right? Fantastic fighter. Um, but you see his foundation is, you know, the sambo, which is the wrestling judo stuff, and he has submissions in him. I mean, they all have submissions in the other arts, but he studied what jujitsu guys do, and he learns how to beat it by countering it or by stuffing it and then doing what he wants. You know, one of the reasons why I see that he does so well is because he makes everybody fight his fight. And if you fight somebody else's fight, if you're not as good as they are at their own fight, then you're going to lose, right? So the objective is to become a master at something so you can always find a way to transition the fight back to your side and win. So here's another older example for those of you who are much older. Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell. In their first fight, Randy got up in the clinch, which is what Chuck didn't want to do because Chuck was a stand-up, you know, Kempo guy, did punches and kicks. Very good at him, by the way. But Randy tied him up, pinned him against the fence, and then I think, if I remember right, did a foot sweep, took him down, and was able to just mess him up from there. What happened? Well, he stuffed Chuck Liddell's fight, took him to the ground, fought his fight on the ground. The second time they fought, Chuck learned from that and learned to stay away from Randy and learned in particular when he got taken down to get back up. And he used the fence to help himself get back up. Why? So he could fight his fight. So the second fight, Liddell won because why? He put the fight into his own fight. Randy didn't. Randy failed in that aspect. And I think that happened the third time as well. There's an eye poke in there somewhere as well. I don't know whether the second fight or third fight. But that just goes to show you need to master something. If you master something, then you can always be good enough in the other arts. Whereas if you're good enough in all the arts, you're going to come across somebody who's a master in something. He will make you fight in that fight and you will be done. So that's my 2 cents, if it's even worth that much. Um, Let me kind of go through again and see if what I've got. Ella Gracie, technical. Was really fit but not very strong. Okay, yeah, this is JCB Paris talking about how Elio Gracie was never really a strong guy. At least that's what they say. I mean, he could be one of those when you train with him, you're like, holy smokes, you're freaking strong. Voxman 77, 22 years in jiu-jitsu, and every 2 years I quit because it just doesn't click. Never done privates before, but my gym doesn't offer any, and wondering if I should find someone to help cover basics. Absolutely. If you've been doing it off and on for 22 years, you're kind of like where I was when I was a purple belt. 14 years at purple belt, and then let's see. So I got my brown belt in like 2007. I started in 89, so 89, 99, 90. Shoot, 89, 9. So 99, oh 09. So, oh yeah, oh 09. I got my brown belt in 07. So I was almost 20 years. I was almost at your point, Voxman 77. And that's when I started taking more privates. When I first started jiu-jitsu in Hawaii, I did House and Gracie's group classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday evenings. I took privates in his garage Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. And then every once in a while, I'd meet up with a purple belt on Saturday to get my ass handed to me. But I was on the mat 5 days a week at that time. And I did when I moved to California, then my routine changed and it was very hard to get back into a swing. And I did initially, but then work caught up with me and I ended up spending less time training. Um, so yeah, I mean, take privates if you can, but make sure you're taking privates from somebody who whose information you value. Don't just take privates from any Tom, Dick, and Harry. You may not learn what you want to learn. On the other hand, if there's a particular instructor that you want to learn from, even if it means you having to travel and take only a couple of privates, then go ahead and do that. But just practice what you went over with him for as long as you can and be as consistent as you can. And when you get those concepts down from those one or two lessons, then make an appointment to go again and learn the next things that he wants to teach you. Just going to do privates every week doesn't necessarily help because what you don't want is just be getting new information with every private without having had the time to work on what those concepts were. Because if you do a private every single week and you learn just one new concept a week, that's 52 different concepts over a year, which is a lot of stuff. Now, let's say you can't devour and digest and be able to master that concept that you're given last week, you can't master it in a week. Then why do another technique or one another private to learn another concept? It doesn't make sense. Okay. A good instructor will go back and say, okay, here's what we worked on last time. Let's drill it. Let me see where you're at. Then what they'll do is make sure you've mastered it before they give you the next piece. Right. I get people that actually fly into town to train with me, right? I still kind of wonder why, but apparently I'm a pretty good teacher, so I'm told. But I just leave that up to people. But well, they'll fly in, and I remember I had one student who would fly in for a week, and we would train for 12 hours over the course of a week, and we would go through an entire module, which we have on combatjujitsuonline.com, and we'd go through module one. I'd go through all the stuff, the self-defense concepts that are in that module, combined with the grappling aspects as well. So module one is all defense from what we call the mount class of position. So escaping mount, two ways to do it: upa, hip escape, escaping side mount, which some call technical mount, and three ways to do that. And then escaping worst position, which is belly down, hooks in, and arm around your neck, worst position ever, as well as escaping seatbelt, right? Back attack, whatever. So we go over the white belt to blue belt level in that in 12 hours. That's a lot of time. I have other people that would come in just for a weekend, book maybe two privates. We'll go over some stuff, and they'll come in, every couple of weeks. And I have people that have just come in. They might have been passing through town, or they might have made a stop in Dallas to come and train with me and do a private. And then, then they find their way back. We go and pick it back up again. Right. And then we have people who do privates every week as well. I've got maybe 12 instructors that teach privates in our studio in Flower Mound, and I've got 3 or 4 instructors that do privates in Dave Kama's campus in Orange County, California. But privates are very valuable, and it really comes down to your time and your means, because privates are not cheap, right? When I'm teaching somebody privately, I'm putting my body out there for you to abuse, right? So there's a cost to it, and I can only do so many of them before I am just jammed up. So that's why I have to always get, have to use, ta-da, I have to go see a physical therapist. I have to go see my chiropractor. I have to go see, people to kind of help me out and get my body straightened up. So, um, Karma, thank you. So now, with regard to some questions, I mean, some of you have asked questions, but one gentleman um, mentioned here. He says this is regarding don't quit jiu-jitsu until you watch this. I think this is the last live stream I did a couple of weeks ago. I've been struggling the last 8 years with back injuries, two herniated discs, L3 and L4, and have been in brown belt purgatory for the last 5 years. It's hard to progress and frustrating, especially when I'm sidelined from this injury for weeks or even months at a time. I could hardly get out of bed, let alone get back on the mat and train. And when I do, I'm back to square one as far as skill level and cardio. I can tell you the number of times I wanted to quit. This most recent injury has gotten me on that train, and even the thought of again training, whether it's worth my time. And he's 53 years old. Sounds just like that student I was mentioning earlier. He's just got a body that's just been busted up just from all the sports and activities he did growing up and throughout his adult life. Unfortunately, when we get to our 50s, things hurt a lot. And when we get to our 50s, things heal very slowly, much more slowly than when we're in our 20s, right? I popped my arm, during blue belt, right? We call those learning injuries, right? You get injured during your blue belt years. You still didn't know that you get injured. You thought, oh, that'd be a great escape for me to try from my arm fully extended. Let me try that. Pop, ouch, that hurt. Not going to do that again. But when stuff like that would happen, I'd heal in a week, 2 weeks max. Now, something like that could take me months to heal. I'll give you an example of a stupid injury I just did. I have, as many of you know, I eat a lot of steaks, right? That's what I like to eat. So I've learned how to cook them, and I make sure I have the right equipment to cook them right, to cook them the way I like. And I bought this 12-inch carbon steel pan. So not quite as heavy as a cast iron pan, but heavy nonetheless. So I have it on my stove, and I'm seasoning it, right? You got to put oil on it, you got to heat it up and let the oil polymerize and get into the pores, right? So you make it nonstick. So, and I'm trying to do the other side of the pan, top and bottom, right? So I picked up the pan, right, and I turned it one way. I turned it one way or the other, and then something right here went ding. I'm like, right? And that was, I want to say it's 2 weeks now, and it still hurts. I've tried the floss thing around the arm, and you do this kind of stuff, which a lot of physical therapists will do, and I don't know if it's worked or not, but I have had it done before, and it has worked. Right when I do this right now, it's clicking. Right, not a good thing. Now, a lot of people call this tennis elbow, right? And then on the inside, that's golfer's elbow. So I have golfer's elbow on both sides from doing chin-ups. I used to be able to do a ton of chin-ups. I could do like, I don't know, 30 of them cold, right? And I used to do them weighted. I used to go on that machine to make me lighter for reps, do 100 of them. But I've really paid a price on my elbows right here. So if you're like me and you just have weak joints, you just need to really decide what you really want to do, and decide, do you really want to do that many chin-ups, and is it really beneficial for you to do that many? But with this gentleman, Evie and Eve and Dell. Okay, I get it. Eve and Dell. That's his YouTube one. But mentioning this, what I found in my 14 years of purple belt purgatory, he says 5 years of brown belt purgatory, I'd get onto the mat and I wouldn't forget everything. I wouldn't be starting back to square one. What would happen though is I'd see what's going on. My timing would be off. My cardio would be off. But if I went back in for maybe a month, maybe twice, 3 times a week, my timing would be back and I'd be right where I was before the long break. So if you learned correctly, and if you had all this information on learning jiu-jitsu put into your central nervous system, you can't forget it, right? Perfect practice makes perfect. And if you make perfect practice, then you practice it until you not only what was it? No, don't practice till you get it right. Practice it till you cannot get it wrong, right? If that makes any sense. So that is something that I would suggest for this gentleman, or Eve. I don't know if it's Eve or if it's Dell, or Eve and Dell. take care of yourself when you're training. So like JCB Paris had asked me about protecting, my shoulder, right? I protect my shoulder so that I can continue training, right? I don't have an ego anymore. Anybody beats me, I'm like, yeah, whatever, right? Um, oh, right. Which will then lead me to another topic, right? People get all butthurt when we talk about belt ranks because people mistakenly identify themselves with their belt, right? It's just a belt, guys and gals. So don't be all butthurt when people say something about a belt, right? So I'll give you an example. We did a video on why do we have the bars on our belt, right? And I had shown some examples of a blue belt. I think that we had when we had three blue belts. We have the blue belt with the black bar, a blue belt with a red bar, which is an instructor, and a blue belt with a white bar on it. That little bar, the where you put your rank stripes on, or the little pieces of tape, right? So we have a white one for members who come in from another school and who have earned rank at another school but don't know our curriculum. If you have the black bar, that means you got the blue belt from us here at Kama Jiu Jitsu because you have demonstrated a command over the curriculum and the criteria for that particular belt, whether it be a blue, purple, brown. We don't do that for black. The black is, for us, it's either white bar or red bar. But let's say you come in with a blue belt and you've got stripes on it, and your jujitsu is completely different from what we do. So you don't know our jujitsu. So in our academy, you're not the equivalent of a Kama Jiu-Jitsu blue belt. Now, I'm not saying it to be was it arrogant or saying it to put anybody down. I'd expect the same thing if I went to another school, right? If I went to another school and I don't meet the criteria of their black belt, that's fine. What belt do I need to wear, right? Oh, black belt with a white bar, I can do that. Oh, I'm only as good as a blue belt. That's fine. I'll wear a blue belt, right? Because I don't identify myself by my belt. And I think neither should you. But I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. You're going to think what you want to think. I've had some people come out and say, "Well, okay, so Ryan, being that you earned your black belt a while ago and now you're older and you can't beat, a current purple belt, right? Who might be a physical specimen. He just smashes me. Does that mean that you're going to lose your black belt? Maybe you should be a blue belt because a purple beat you? No. And I'll tell you why. It's just a belt is just simply where you were at one particular point in time, and you earned it. It's like if you earn a title at work, right? Just because you don't do that job anymore doesn't mean you didn't earn the title, right? If you've moved up to the CEO spot, but you started your early days, digging ditches for that company, but now that you're too old to dig a ditch, does that mean that you lose whatever title or stuff that you earned while digging a ditch? No. I mean, I'm not saying digging a ditch is bad. It just takes a lot of physicality. But let's say you have some award for digging, the most trenches in a particular day versus everybody. Now that I'm older and I can't dig a trench, does that mean I lose a title? Well, no, somebody else will get the title, but I earned it. Right? Same thing with a college degree. Once you earn your PhD in whatever, which I never have, right? Once you earn your PhD in bioscience, but let's say now you're in sales, right? You're not in bioscience anymore. You're not up with the latest in bioscience anymore. But if people ask you, what did you get your PhD in? Oh, bioscience. Well, but you don't do that anymore, so you're not a PhD anymore. Of course I am, right? I earned it. And the same thing with my black belt. But I am a black belt at Kama Jiu-Jitsu. If I go to another school and I get my ass handed to me, and that instructor says, Ryan, I know you're in the black belt with Kama Jiu-Jitsu, but you're at XYZ Jiu-Jitsu. Now you're going to wear a white belt. Fine. I want to learn this. So I will wear the white belt and I'll learn this. And I'll just, hopefully I can have two black belts, right? I don't, not just one. But on the other hand, if I have a black belt in Kama Jiu-Jitsu and a blue belt in XYZ Jiu-Jitsu, and then I die, then so be it, right? If somebody wants to identify me as an XYZ Jiu-Jitsu, then I'd be a blue belt. If they want to identify me as Kama Jiu-Jitsu, then I'm a black belt, right? So that's answering that question, because I know that comes up all the time. I still look at my comments and I see how people will just kind of watch the video. They don't look at all the comments that were all posted ahead of them. And I got tired of answering them, so I figured I'll just put it on a video here. Today, I was asked how a white belt should roll with a black belt. And my answer was carefully, because a white belt doesn't know what a black belt knows, obviously, and a white belt isn't as practiced as a black belt. What you really should be doing, like I said, I don't like saying the word should, but I'm going to say it anyway in this case. What you should be trying to do is you should be trying to learn as much as you can from the black belt. Now, sometimes black belts they're not in the mood to teach a white belt, right? After you've teaching 1,000 of them, then, what's 1,001? I just want to train. I don't feel like teaching you because I already taught it that. Well, the problem is that white belt, that 1,001 white belt, he wasn't there to benefit from the previous 1,000. So really, the black belt, if he's an instructor, he really should be teaching a white belt. But when it comes to them sparring, white belts, do not try to beat the black belt. Try to work on what you're supposed to work on. I always tell my white belts, if you're going to train with a black belt, which for us, if you get through the curriculum to guard pass one, which is about halfway through the curriculum, then you can roll. Until then, I don't want you to roll, only because if you get put in a position, let's say you're under side mount and a guy has got your neck and he's got your arm and he's got you locked up. And if it's one of those situations where if you move left, you can get out. But if you move right, something's going to break. You don't know. It's a 50-50 thing. So there'll be one white belt that might roll left and get out, get lucky. And there might be one that might roll right and break his arm. Right? If you don't know your defensive positions, then don't bother trying to win. Your win needs to be figuring out what position you're in and trying to learn where your risk is and then deal with that. Now, if you get stuck and you don't know, don't move anyway without knowing. That's where you stop and go, you know what? Sorry, I don't mean to stop us right now, but I don't know where I am. Can you help me? But if it's one of those just sparring for the clock and all that, and you get in that position, you don't know, don't move. Let him move and expect that you're about to get tapped. And then once you do, tap and then continue on. And once you get to another position where you're stuck, stop, don't move. Okay, right? Because you don't know which way you can move, right? So it doesn't make sense to have a brand new white belt spar. But yet a lot of people come in and they want to spar right away, but they don't know anything. Now, I don't want you to get injured because I want you to keep training. People who get injured when they're white belts are more likely to quit than a blue belt who gets injured, and a blue belt is more likely to quit after getting injured than a purple belt. By the time you get to purple belt, you're not going to quit no matter what. You'll get injury after injury after injury, and you'll be like that last gentleman, Even Dell, who is a brown belt and has been training 22 years, gets injured but keeps coming out. Because why? Jiu-Jitsu is in his DNA now. It's part of his lifestyle. It's just that the lifestyle hurts. And if you're one of those who starts thinking about you're going to quit, if you've been around for that long, you're just going to think about it, but you're not really going to truly quit. You'll always want to do it. But if you're brand new, my job as an instructor is to get my brand new people to make it to blue belt. And once they get the blue belt, it's to get them the purple belt. Because once they get the purple belt, then like I said earlier, they're not going to quit, right? So yeah, when you're rolling with anybody better than you, I want you to work on your defense, work on protecting yourself, work on getting out. When you train with people who are not as good as you, then your goal is to work on your submissions, but do it at a very lazy pace that you can't really surprise them, right? They see it coming. It's they see it rather than going bang and getting them with it, right? If you have to move fast to get a white belt with something, then maybe you're not that good, right? Maybe you should work on your technique a little better so you can set it up, put your hip in the right spot so they can't move, they're immobile, and then the arm just can come out. And you can do it slowly, but when you do it, you're training with somebody who's not as good as you. You have to be ready for that sudden movement. Because if they move suddenly, and like I said, they can move left and get out or right and get their arm broken, you don't want them to move right suddenly. So what you're going to do is, when you're better than them, you're going to lock that arm up, but you're always going to be ready to let it go if they move the wrong way. That's how you train people not as good as you. People at your level, have at it, right? But if that person at your level is a lot smaller and weaker than you, then it's a little difficult, because if you have at it, then you're just going to smash them every time. Because why? Your physicality is greater than theirs, and your technicality may be exactly the same. So level wise, you're the same, but physically, you're just a monster compared to that person. What good will it do you to smash the hell out of them? Right? It won't do you any good, and it certainly won't do them any good to just keep getting smashed. So you may, if you're training with somebody bigger and stronger, you may want to just protect yourself. If you're the bigger and stronger one, you may want to just give a little bit of, I don't know, looseness, or, don't go as strong. Imagine training with a child, right? We can all train with children and not hurt the child. Why would we train with an adult who is comparatively weaker and smaller? Why would we go full bore on them and hurt them? Right? Because if you do, next time you line up with them, they're going to go, I'm good. They'll walk off the mat. And then you'll just be there like, I got nobody to train with. That's your fault because you hurt that person, right? I know we all have to protect ourselves, but you don't want to hurt your training partners. Otherwise, you won't have any training partners soon. And then, I've seen people who just wrecked their training partners. And then they grumble. They're the victim now. Nobody wants to train with me. Why can't anybody train with me? Nobody wants to train. Same thing if you smell, right? If you smell, nobody wants to train with you. They stay away from you. Well, what's going on, right? You don't know you smell, right? Nobody's ever told you, unfortunately. But when you're hurting people, you're going to run through your training partners really quick and you won't have any soon. So moderate how you train, right? Certain people you go balls to the wall with. Other people you just defend. And other people you can do your offense, but make sure you do it in a way that you allow for margin of error on your opponent's part. Okay? Make sense? Yeah. Sí, señor. Let's see. Yeah, so just going over strength. I'm just looking at some topics. Let's see if any of you. Um, hey, Jonathan. Jonathan Craig. He actually came and visited us from the state of Washington several years ago. Yeah. And let's see, that guy. Do you have any gym recommendations in El Paso? Unfortunately, I do not know a single black belt that runs a school in El Paso. I have visited a lot of places and I can make recommendations, but I don't have one in El Paso. Do I follow other coaches on the internet? I don't. I wish I could. I just don't have the time. I have watched some videos. Chewy does some good videos, actually. A lot of times, you know, I did a video and then maybe a year later I watch and he's done it as well. Or I do a video and I go back and I see a video that he did a year or two ago and he did it as well. So I think that we both kind of cover similar things. Maybe, maybe not. Um, I'm not so much on YouTube, as per Dave Kama, about doing technical videos on YouTube. We save that for the online stuff. Um, but on YouTube, it's all about me trying to help people get into jujitsu and people who are in jujitsu how to get you to stay in jujitsu. Because the more people that train, the better the art becomes. And also, what it does is if I can get more people to understand the concepts of jujitsu and self defense, then perhaps we'll have, if I can have just one less person get injured in an assault, then I've done my job, right? So that's kind of the way I look at it. Now, hey Dave, sorry, this is Ryan. Dave's in California, and he doesn't do YouTube videos, unfortunately. Um, let's see, do I do seminars when I'm in Hawaii other than Taco Jiu-Jitsu? So Taco Jiu-Jitsu is run by my cousin Shell Young, who's a Kama Jiu-Jitsu, who's our only Kama Jiu-Jitsu affiliate. Come to think of it. Um, or do I plan to have one in the future at Taco? I'm a huge fan and love the history you share about Jiu-Jitsu. Mahalo. Um, it's funny you mentioned Shell because I just saw him, what, 2 weeks ago when I went to our Southern California campus Christmas party. So he and his wife, Steph, they came and visited. They flew up just for the party. And he actually participated in my class that I taught at our Irvine, California, Common Jiu-Jitsu Irvine campus on that Saturday. And it was awesome having him in class. So that was a great thing. And Steph was in class as well. But as far as Hawaii, I don't have anything planned. Um, so Yeah, so I'm just looking over some stuff here. Yeah, how to rank older people and women in jiu-jitsu. So yeah, this one particular user says if this is a thought process, then maybe demotion should be a serious thing. Instead of getting extra degrees as black belts, as you age and teach, shouldn't you be demoted and eventually not be a black belt anymore? There seems to be a flaw in this logic. I seem to think there's a flaw in his logic if he knew the system. Really, once we get to black belt, it's not so much about how good you are anymore. Although, once you do get to black belt, I do expect you to continue to learn and get better and refine your techniques. But really, once you're a black belt, and if you're teaching black belt like I am, then it's just all based on time. There's no longer any real achievement anymore, because if in case you didn't know, the degrees on a Gracie Jiu Jitsu black belt are for teachers. Meaning, if you're a teacher and you're helping to grow the art, that's how you earn rank, right? So you go black belt with 6 stripes on it, so 6 degrees, and then when you get your 7th degree, your belt switches out. You get a master belt, which is a coral belt, which is black and red. Now, if you're old school like we are, the black and red coral belt, it takes you through 7th and 8th degree. And then for your 9th degree, you get a red belt. Now, the belt does change, I guess. So if you want to, you can look at a coral belt as a demotion from black belt because now you're telling everybody I'm retired from my fighting days, supposedly, and that as I'm wearing a coral belt, I'm not actively competing anymore. So yeah, I'm not gonna, get my ass kicked by you young bucks. And a red belt, even more so. Red belt means you're basically geriatric, right? You're 40 to 45 years as a teaching black belt. And that's how you get your promotions, right? So, when people say, this your logic, my logic is flawed, then my thinking is you just don't know how the system works. So, these are the people who identify as whatever belt they are, like people who are on Facebook or Instagram and they put in the description, Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I don't know. I don't do that. Those of you who have seen my Instagram, which is at slant IRI, or my Facebook, same title. Nowhere does it say that I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu, because it really just doesn't matter to me. It matters to other people, but it doesn't matter to me. I know what I know, and the last belt I was given by Dave Kama was my 3rd degree black belt, right? And that was a few years ago. When I get my next one, it's up to him. And whether I get my next one, it's up to him. I don't care. Um, And I'd like to say neither should you, but then people say, well, of course you're going to say that, you already got the black belt. And yeah, I get it. Now let me see what else we can kind of discuss. I mean, if there's any questions here, okay, none there. Just kind of want to see what I want to cover. So yeah, I responded to that guy. If Dave Kama tells me to wear a white belt again, I totally would. It's not like I'll forget what I know, which is true. Um, And then he replied, "It's an interesting question. If the belt represents knowledge, technique, and physicality, does one not reach a promotion in belt rank without all three? If one of the three is lost over time due to, say, injury or age, does that change the rank at all, or should it? No. If you earn something, you earned it, um, because at one time you did earn it, and the belt simply is just a marker of how far you got. It's if you imagine this, and then you progress, and you go up to here, and you go to here. With every new thing you progress, it doesn't go down. It doesn't, right? If somebody were, and I learned this in judo actually, when I took judo with my son, probably about 15 plus years ago. There was an old guy who came in with a black belt, and he wasn't that good, right? His timing was off. He hadn't trained in probably 20 years, 30 years even. And I asked my sensei, I said, is it right to have him wear a black belt? Because, you got the green belts that are all, giving him a really hard time. And he says, no, the belt is what you earned. Once you earn it, you wear it. If you end up sucking, then that just means that you need to get yourself back up to speed if you want to continue on, but you're still going to wear the black belt. So I kind of took that to heart, and it made a lot of sense. So kind of where I was with that. And that's a very traditional mindset. When you are a champion, you're a champion. Not saying I'm a champion, but because I'm not. But I'm just trying to go over what we can go. Okay, what's the blue belt blues? I started training at 37, then had to quit after 6 years because all those little injuries just kept adding up. I miss it every day, but now my body hurts. So yeah, that's kind of a recurring theme. It's not uncommon to get to blue belt and then quit because of injuries. So if you really love jujitsu, you love the community you're in, which I'll go into in a second, then don't quit, right? Just keep doing it. Rehab your injuries and go back in. One thing that I always tell students to do is that if you're injured, come in and sit in the class anyway. A bunch of chairs outside, sit and watch and listen to the class because I make sure when I teach my instructors to teach you three different things. You teach their eyes, you teach their ears, right? Eyes meaning watch me do this, right? You do it. Ears meaning let me tell you what I'm doing, and then you teach the body, right? That's the third one. So now when somebody demonstrates a concept in class, if you're not the one as the uke, meaning the training dummy, meaning the one the instructor is teaching on, say, come on over here, let me show it. Now everybody take a look, right? The uke is the person who you're doing the concepts on, but you're showing the entire class. The uke gets to feel it, right? Which is the third way to learn. You learn by touch. And we all learn either singly, right? Somebody goes, you can tell them, and they're like, don't know. You can do it to them. They don't, However, if you show it to them and you say, here, why don't you watch me do it on him? That person will go, I got it. Or it could be where you're saying, here, watch me, right? You do it without saying a word. And the person goes, yeah, I don't get it. Oh, okay, let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm putting my left hand here. I'm grabbing, I'm connecting here, my hip to his hip. I got it, right? That's the guy who learns to the ears, right? The audio guy. The last guy, he does the first two, and every class, there's one person that learns kinesthetically. You can tell because when you tell them and teach them, and you show them on the uke, and then you say, okay, the guys go and do it. You'll see one guy who's just doing everything wrong, right? So that's when you have to go and you have to grab his arm and put him, no, over here. Move your arm over here. Put your head over there, right? Just in that way. Put your head here. Turn your head here. There are people who that's how, when you do it, they go, oh, I get it now. They're kinesthetic learners. A long time ago, I remember taking privates with Hickson. He was a kinesthetic teacher, but I'm not a kinesthetic learner, right? And the kinesthetic learner is the one where the instructor he's doing it on you. He's saying, okay, here, do it like me. Boom, 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 sweet, and you're done. Oh, okay. And I go and do it exactly the way Hickson did it. No, I needed to be told, right? I need to hear it and I need to see it. But him telling me, you feel this? Yeah, I feel it. But it didn't mean anything to me. So I had a hard time, when I took a private mix. But when he did a group class and he taught it and I heard him and I saw him, I could do it. Weird, huh? Um, but then also sometimes, somebody may not be articulate. For instance, Horian Gracie, one of the most articulate instructors I've ever had. He could show it to you and he could tell you, not only tell you what to do, but tell you why. And you go, oh, and then I could do it. Dave, on the other hand, Dave Kama, didn't like learning under Horian because he said Horian talked too much, but he learned perfectly fine under Hickson, right? So it kind of just goes to show how Dave and I were both different learners at the same time, right? We were both at the Gracie Academy at the same time in the early mid '90s, but I had a hard time learning from Hickson. He learned best from Hickson. However, when Dave and I were separated because he went down to move to Orange County and I didn't see him. I would seek him out, but back in the old days, it was very hard to find somebody. Eventually, I found him years later. And then when he started teaching me, he could tell me and he could show me, right, what to do. And I'm like, dang, it's so easy like that. Well, it turns out Dave is the perfect bridge between Hickson and me, right? So he was able to teach me just fine. And when I teach, I consciously try to teach to all three learners. So if you're injured, go to the academy anyway. Watch and listen. That way, you'll get it at least through two of the three modalities. your body is hurt, so you won't necessarily be able to do the third modality, but you're still going to learn. You're going to learn regardless, versus being at home and or going to Bucky's and grabbing some freaking beaver nuggets, right? Those of you who know Bucky's, you know it. Those of you who don't know, well, if you don't know, you don't know, right? But Bucky's is pretty badass. But you know, for me, when I was injured, I'd go to the academy anyway. I'd just go and watch Dave teach, and I'd go, oh, didn't know that. But had I not gone to class, I wouldn't have seen that, right? And here's a funny thing, right? I went in, I was sick. I had a cold. I didn't want anybody to catch my cold. So I went to class anyway. And that's the day I got my black belt. I didn't even know, but Dave told me, yeah, just make sure you show up to class tonight. He goes, yeah, you're sick. Just come in anyway. So I did. I got my black belt. So I didn't even have my gi on. But anyway, so you never know what you're going to get when you come to class when you're injured, right? Or when you're sick. So that's C. Wesley 2005 about the little injuries, and that that also goes to that member that I mentioned at the beginning of the call, who just gets injury after injury after injury, and his competitive spirit makes it so it's hard and difficult for him to be able to train, because he wants to go hard all the time. He's a big, strong guy. Um, Here's another one. PSICHLO1. This was in response to my video, BJJ Instructor Agenda, the problem of holding back, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what the rest of the title is, but it has to do with how some instructors will either hold back people from belts, oftentimes because they're competitors, and they want their student to clean up the category. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll make them clean up the category multiple times, right? You'll get guys who have been white belts for 4 years, and they've won probably 5 gold medals already. Why? Because the instructor likes them to do that. And then that way, when they give them the blue belt, they'll hit the blue belt level running, meaning there's a good chance that once they do their first tournament at blue belt, they'll win the whole thing there too. Right? There's a guy from Hawaii that I knew, Barrett Yoshida. Many of you know who he is. He was telling me that Helson had him at blue belt for 6 years, and he was the absolute best blue belt I had ever come across when he was a blue belt. And his blue belt was so old, it was all tore up already, kind of like the way a lot of old school black belts are all tore up, but his was a blue belt. And it was because I guess Helson wanted him to win a world championship at blue belt. I don't know if he ever did, but he ended up leaving. He got his purple belt and then left the school, went over to Egan Inouye's school, which is called Grappling Unlimited, which is where my cousin Shell mentioned earlier, Taco Jiu-Jitsu, where he got his black belt. And the day he got in, from what I understand, he got his brown belt. Day one, brown belt, Barry Yoshida, right? And then I think a year later, got his black belt. Why? Because he was that good. So he sat at blue belt for a number of years, but eventually his level became exposed and he ended up getting his black belt a year after leaving as a purple belt, which, it was probably timing wise, it all worked out in the end anyway. So there's no reason to be upset about your instructor holding you back belt wise. I mean, your instructor has a reason. He has an agenda. That's not as bad as the opposite. The opposite meaning you get your belts faster than you really should be getting them. And when I did that video a number of years ago, it had to do with one particular gentleman who came in to try our studio out, who was from a crosstown school, um, and he was a purple belt, and he probably only been training a total maybe 2.5, maybe 3 years, and he was a purple belt, and his knowledge just wasn't there, and he acknowledged it. Right when he came in and trained, he realized how far behind he was. But what he said was the school that he went to, not this one that he was at before he came to my school, but the one he came from original in his other town in Texas. He said that instructor, in retrospect, gave him advancements in his belt because the instructor wanted him to teach, because the instructor didn't want to teach. He wanted to take some time off rather than teaching 10 classes a week, wanted to teach only 5. So he'd have this other guy give him a purple belt and allow him to teach. That way he can say, oh, yeah, he's a purple belt and he's one of our teachers. And that way, because his thinking was new members don't know any better. So they think, oh, purple belt, he's been, he's really good. So I'd be okay with him teaching me. So that was that instructor's agenda, was to basically promote people quickly so he could get other people, his students, to teach. The problem was his students didn't really know. Um, so this guy's been training. So back to this comment here. I've been training for just over 5 years, and I've been a blue belt for 3 of those years. And I have seen people that I thought shouldn't have been promoted get promoted, and people that should have been promoted did not. I think that gyms should have a clear set of expectations for their promotions, if for nothing else, to prevent the appearance of favoritism. Okay, so in other words, a curriculum and a methodology to teach that curriculum, which kind of segues right into what we do at Combat Jiu-Jitsu. We do have a curriculum. And for you to get your blue belt, you need to be able to hit all those standards for blue belt. Now, if I award a blue belt to somebody and they don't meet the standards, then everybody knows that person does not know the standards, right? So they'll come and ask me why. Well, of course, it's never happened, right? I always make sure they know it before I give them the belt. But it kind of tells you when people come in from another school how their jujitsu is different, right? They don't do what we do. So because they haven't hit that criteria, what every blue belt here needs to know, that's why we have to put a white bar in the blue belt. So I just give them a new blue belt, but with a white bar. And all that says is that you earned your rank somewhere, and that if you want to earn it here, meaning get the black bar on your blue belt, then you just need to know what every other blue belt in the academy knows. That's all it is, right? And I've had people, when they asked me about it and I told them what's going to happen, how they just said, no thanks, and they don't join. That's fine. Doesn't matter to me, right? Um, it's just, I am trying to make sure that all our students at a certain belt level know a certain amount. Now, can they execute as well as each other? Maybe, maybe not, but they all know it, right? You might have somebody who just seems to take to arm bars and another guy who just seems to take to chokes. But if I ask them to teach me the one that they don't do, so if I ask the armbar guy to teach me choke, he'll teach it the way I teach it. If I have the choke guy teach me an armbar, he'll teach it the way I teach it. That's the important thing, right? That they can execute it, but it's everybody executes individual things to a different degree. Now, what I don't accept is a blue belt telling me what a blue belt is, because a blue belt doesn't know, right? They might know some of the things, but they don't know all the things. They don't know the intangibles. They may know the tangibles, which is what they see, but unless I've actually gone through and told them exactly what I'm looking for, how do they know, right? Or a purple belt telling me so and so should be a blue belt, and I ask them why. Oh, because he's beating all the blue belts. Okay. Why else? Well, because he's just beating all the blue. Okay, well, he's beating all the blue belts with arm bars, but have you seen him choke anybody? No. That's because he chokes like a white belt, right? So that being the case, me as an instructor, and I haven't awarded a lot of blue belts, maybe 60 to 65 of them total, which in 10 years is not a lot, right? It's a good amount, but I wouldn't say it's a lot. There are people who might award that much in a couple of years, let alone 10 years. And I've only awarded maybe 4 black belts total. Um, Ken, Zach, David, and Mike. Yeah, I've only awarded 4 black belts, but we have 6 black belts in our campus, including me and a black belt that joined us from another academy, and he's legit black belt, and he came from a school that's in our line, meaning come down from Hickson, but did things. Sorry about that. I put my phone on airplane mode, but yet a call still came in. Um, Anyway, so that's really what it is. So don't worry about other people's belts. Just worry about yours. Now, this particular student thinks that, so he's been training over 5 years, and he's been a blue belt for 3 of them, and likely thinks that he should get a purple belt. Um, that may or may not be true. Uh, on the one hand, you want to check with your instructor, why haven't I been promoted? But on the other hand, it's kind of bad practice to ask that. Um, if somebody asks me, Ryan, why am I not a blue belt? Or why, in this case, purple. Why haven't I got my purple belt? I'd be like, you know, because you're not a purple belt yet. Um, Now, I will tell, the better question to ask is, hey, Ryan, what do I need to work on next? Simple as that. Okay, well, I noticed that you've been armbarring everybody. I need to see you start choking people. So from now, for the next month, do not armbar anyone. Okay. Now I go in the next time and I see that same person. He's still armbarring everybody. Well, yeah, of course I'm not going to give him his purple belt, right? On the other hand, if he is legit trying to, you know, choke people and failing, then I'll go, okay, good try. Let's add this and this. So I'll fix it for him. I'll show him how to fix it and then go back and do it. Can I armbar yet? No. I'll tell you when. Okay, go back. It still does chokes, 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 chokes. And finally, I see the chokes are just as good as his arm bars. Well, if that was the only thing, then I would by all means give him a purple belt. But if I didn't, then he'll come back to me and he'll say, all right, I've been choking everybody for the last month, like you said. How does it look? It looks awesome. All right. Do you want me to continue working on chokes? Can I armbar people, or do you want me to work on something else? Now I want you to work on your hook sweeps. Ah, okay. So for the next month, he stops doing scissor sweeps and starts doing hook sweeps, right? And then after he's done that, ask me again. All right, Ryan, what do you want me to work on next? And I tell him. Eventually, it's going to get to the point where he is where I need him to be to get the purple belt. And I'll just say, I might give him the first task that he would work on in purple belt because I don't want to give him his belt right then and there. I might wait till the next day, but then I'll get all the instructors online and I'll tell them, hey, so and so is going to get his purple belt today, right on. So as many of them as they can show up, it becomes a big class, and we do a whole little belt ceremony for him to get his purple belt, right? And that is the right way to do it. Don't complain about your belt. Don't ask for your belt, right? But if you really want to know, just ask, what do I need to learn, or what do I need to practice next? That's exactly what I did with Dave when I was a brown belt. Jack Toffer and I, we were both brown belts together. We trained together. And I remember this one conversation we had in my garage. He and I were training and just going over stuff David told us to work on. Dave pops in and starts training with us and said, all right, for the next year, I need you guys to work on this particular thing. Okay. Dave leaves. Jack tells me, I guess we're not getting our black belts this year. And I'm like, I don't care. By then, I was a brown belt for like 4 years. What do I care, right? I was happy being a brown belt, and I was happy if I died a brown belt. I didn't care about the belt, and I truly did. And I can say that with all honesty. Well, that was January. That was the beginning of the new year. That was 2012. March 6th, we got our black belts. I don't know what Dave's criteria was. He and I had a conversation later. He later told me that he had my black belt in his bag for a year before he gave it to me, or maybe a little more than a year, because he wanted me to be comfortable in that belt before he gave it to me. Didn't want to, here's a black belt level. He didn't want me to just match it and give it to me right here. He wanted me to continue on, right? He wanted to see that I was willing to put in extra work and train, which I was. Right? He also realizes, as do I, that when you award somebody a belt, and every belt even more so, when you award somebody a belt, it is very significant. You are tying that student to you going forward, right? So, especially the black belt, that is the most important belt. Um, maybe you're a brown belt, and I came to Dave as a brown belt. I had just gotten my brown belt from Brad Jackson, which is where I was training for the 10 years prior to that, right? Off and on for 10 years, right? Because I didn't train all that much. But when I went to Dave, he made sure I ran through everything and I knew everything he wanted before I got my black belt. And I was perfectly fine with it. A lot of people, they think to themselves, I should be a purple belt, but I've been moving schools all around and, no instructor wants to give it to me because I haven't trained long enough there. And he actually does have a point. There is some truth to the matter. If somebody came in and they were spectacular wearing a white belt, very first day, I wouldn't give him a blue belt. He'd hold a white belt for a while. Why? Because I'm hitching him to me, right? The belt he has is going to say Kama Jiu-Jitsu on it, which means he better know the stuff that Kama Jiu-Jitsu blue belts know. If he doesn't, then he's going to have to learn it before he gets a blue belt from me. But once he gets it from me, then that's a belt he can keep for the rest of his life, right? He can say forever that Ryan Young or, Dave Kama or any of my other black belts here, so-and-so gave me this black belt, awarded me this black belt. Now, you and that blue belt are tied together, so to speak. Even more so for the purple, the brown, and then the black, right? If the black, then they can represent you in opening a school. So any black belt I've awarded to people, I'm telling them, if you decide to leave Kama Jiu-Jitsu and go off on your own, you have my blessing to run your campus. And you are my black belt. right? And any help you need, I will be there for you. That's how significant awarding a belt is to someone. So for those of you who are wondering why you didn't get your belt, just ask your instructor what you need to work on next. Don't assume anything because you don't know, right? You never know what any individual is thinking, right? Um, anyway, so that's really all I have on that. Now, we've gone about an hour and 10 minutes, which is about as long as I can go because I've got some stuff to do, as do you probably as well. And I want to thank you guys for being on here. But let me see if there's any. Is it important to you for students to teach the technique the same way as you, or is it okay to teach a variant? Okay, that's a good question. I'll answer this one, and then if nothing else comes up, I will cut it here or there. But so, yes, when it depends. Okay, so we have members and we have instructors. So there is a methodology to the way we do things, right? There's an order for which we do things. And I expect our instructors to teach it in that way, right? In that order. However, each instructor has a different style. I'm not trying to change their natural, comfortable style of teaching. Now, when I have a brand new instructor come into the program and I tell them, all right, I want you to teach headlock escape, they're uncomfortable, right? I had one of my black belts when he started teaching. Every time he taught something, he'd say, "Okay, okay, 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 all right, okay, okay." So when I show you this, you got this, okay, all right. Now we're gonna do this, okay, right? It was a nervous tick, right? Other people will do other things, or they'll just forget, right? So what I do is I tell them, look, for your first try to teach it exactly the way I teach it. Use the words I use. Try to figure out the tempo in which I talk. Figure out how I face people when we're doing it, right? And I help them with that. But once they understand the concepts and they know it back and front, they tend to develop their own teaching style. And that's what makes a teacher unique. But we all teach the same thing, so that's important. So if I teach somebody on day one and they go to one of my other black belts, let's say they go to Mikey Nielsen, and Mikey will then ask that student, all right, what did you go over? This is what, your first lesson, your second lesson? All right, so I assume you went over worst position and either seatbelt, mount escape, or side mount. Yeah, I did seatbelt and I did worst position. All right, so Mikey will then go over with them. All right, you did it. Okay, let's add this one thing in. It's something that I taught them, but they might have forgotten, right? So Mikey goes and puts it back in. Why? Because I taught Mikey, right? And Mikey is very well versed in teaching, right? As are all my black belts. You don't become a black belt professor of combat jiu-jitsu unless you can teach, and you can teach correctly, and you can teach all the details, right? And then Mikey would then go, okay, so we've done the worst position, we've done the seatbelt, so now I'm going to introduce you to the mount escapes, and he does. The next day he comes back to me for a private, and I go, okay, what did Mikey go over with you? Went over mount. Okay, go and do it to me. He does it. Okay, it's good, good. All right, so for the UPA version of the mount escape, let's add this. Okay. Oh, that's right. Mikey showed that to me, but I forgot it. Yeah, I know, but let's make sure you do it and you don't forget it. So he does it, and then I go and progress to, okay, let's go over the side mount escapes. There's three of them, and I explain the whole thing. So yes, all the instructors need to teach it the same way, but the way they get the information to you may be different because we're each, different people, and that's really one of the benefits of having multiple instructors. But they don't teach a variation on the mount escape. They teach the mount escape. Now, as time goes on, there will be variations, but we don't want white belts learning variations. When you get to blue belt, we start teaching variations. Now, I may teach you a variation because you maybe have some physical ailment that makes it so you cannot move in the standard way. And then we have what's called a workaround. So I'll give you an example. One of my purple belt instructors, Nick, two replaced knees. He's got a fused wrist. I think he's had shoulder surgery, and he's had elbow surgery. So he's put together with duct tape, and because of that, he can't do certain things. So what I do is I show him, okay, for this, I want you to do it this way. Got it. But remember, Nick, it's a variation. It's your workaround. And he knows, okay, so that means I make sure I teach everybody the standard way to do it. Even though I can't execute it 100%, I'm going to teach a standard way. That's correct. Now, if you have somebody who ends up being, who moves like you in a certain situation, you can say at that point in time, all right, so you tried to do it the standard way and you cannot do it, right? The standard way, in my mind, will probably work for 85 to 90% of the practitioners, right? 10 to 15%, you have something else that needs to be done in order for you to make it work. So let me now show you a possible variation, a workaround on this particular concept and see if it works. Oh, that's way more comfortable for me to do. Okay, so going forward, this is what you're going to do. Um, and then if at some point in time they become teachers, then it's important that I or the other instructors let that student know, okay, the way you're doing that particular mount escape, you need to teach it this way. You can do it that way, but you teach it this way and you don't teach it to other people, right? I'm not saying keep it a secret. I'm just saying that they may be one of the 85 to 90% who can do it the standard way. So don't teach them your workaround, if that makes any sense. Okay, so let's just go back. Is it important for the students to teach a technique? Okay, students generally, I don't expect to teach, only instructors. Now, the lower belt, I've got one blue belt instructor. She's what we call a junior assistant instructor. So that's her title, right? Purple belt is assistant instructor, brown belt instructor, black belts for us are professors. We don't have assistant professors because by the time they get to black belt here, they've all been teaching for many years. So since I just mentioned Mikey's been teaching since he was a blue belt and he's now a black belt. So he's been teaching probably about 6 years, which is longer than a lot of guys who just get their black belt and are told to start teaching. Right. By the time our people become black belts, they're full on professors. They don't have to wait the 2 years to go through the assistant and then get their bars on top, professor bars. Um, but anyway, I hope that answered your question. Hey, guys and gals, I want to thank you for sticking with me for this long. And if you have been on for this long, please go and hit the like button. Um, I think I have 17 likes on this, which is pretty good. We have 18 people on the call right now. 17. Somebody just said, hey, Ryan's going to end it. So he jumped off. So let's go over some new shit, right? I'm just kidding. Oh, another one jumped off. All right. So now the secret sauce. I'm just kidding. Come visit us at any of our campuses. We have two of them, one in Southern California in Orange County, Kama Jiu-Jitsu Irvine, as we call it, but it's actually physically located in Laguna Hills, California, and Kama Jiu-Jitsu Dallas Fort Worth, which is located in Flower Mound. We'd love to have you come by. Those of you who want a good curriculum to go by, we use Hicks and Gracie's curriculum on our website at kamajujitsuonline.com. And we also teach it with the Kama Jiu-Jitsu methodology, which is we've reordered everything in a way that we feel, Dave Kama feels, is the best way to teach, at various belt levels. And we'd love to have you come by. Also, go ahead and look up one of these. These are called Bob and Brad Air 2 Mini Massage Gun. It's backward, huh? Sorry about that. But yeah, I think I've seen them online before, and I think I first came across. No, they actually messaged me. I might have seen them on Instagram. I'm not sure, but this stuff works really well. So get yourself one of these. Those of you who are just aches and pains and hurting, you want them. Also, visit us on our Shopify store if you'd like to buy any merchandise. I'd love to send it. I'll send it FedEx to you. But that's all I got for you guys. Take care. Happy training. Bye now.